we last picked off from this program over here where I showed you guys how you can print stuff out to the console. So today I'm going to go ahead and I am actually, let me delete this real quick. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to introduce you guys to variables. And the reason why I delete that is I want you guys to get into the habit of making new classes, and I want to make sure you guys understand how you can do that. Now, like I said, if you're using Eclipse, you can just easily make one like this. I'm going to name mine variable tutorial. Okay, and I personally, if you're starting off, make sure you understand how to create class headers and public static void main methods, right? You want to get used to writing those things, right? Unlike me, because I already have experience with those things, and it just comes by second nature. So I can just go ahead and just generate that. But for you guys that are watching, that are learning, make sure you practice writing your class methods. I'm sorry, your class headers and your class methods, okay? So what exactly is a variable? Well, it's kind of self-explanatory. I mean, if you've taken any math class, algebra class, calculus, whatever, basically a variable is kind of, you can treat it like a container, or you can treat it like a box where it contains some sort of numeric value, or it doesn't even have to contain a value. It can contain some type of data, right? And that data can be either like an object, calendar, watches, paper towels, anything. It could be anything, right? And that's exactly what a variable is. It's basically something that stores, a reference, right? And whenever you refer to that variable, you're basically referring to what's inside the variable. Okay? So, and basically in math, for example, you can have x, y, and z as your standard variables. You can let x equal to 5, and you can try to solve for z or y if you know the other one or two, right? It's kind of like that in Java, right? But let's go ahead and let's actually figure out how we can use variables in Java. So basically, Java allows you to create variables or declare variables, okay? And you have multiple different types of values that you can use in Java. You have your strings, you have your integers, you have your doubles, etc. Basically, you can store words, characters, numbers, anything, right? And you can have variables of even objects, variables of even like just you name it, whatever. But for now, we're only going to focus on the standard primitive data types and strings as well. Okay, so if I wanted to, let's say for example, if I wanted to have a variable that where, let's say, if I'm referring to that variable, it will reference the name or the reference some type of food that I want, right? And you can go ahead and rather than just like, and you're probably wondering like, why do I need a variable? Well, it makes sense because rather than just retyping the same thing over and over again, I can just store it inside a variable once, and I can use that variable multiple times to reference whatever I want to reference, right? And it's also not only that, but let's say for example, if you're writing code, and let's say you wrote pizza like 5 times, right? And let's say you want to change it to I don't know, you want to change it to fish or tuna, right? Rather than rewriting everything from like pizza to fish or tuna, you just you could have had pizza stored inside a variable, right? And then rather than changing everything inside your code, you could have just changed that one value of the variable, and everything in the program will change. And I will show you guys that later, right? And that will have, and I'll probably do it in my next video, but that will also introduce string concatenation and concatenation with variables and numbers and whatnot. Okay, so right now I'm going to declare some variables, and I'm going to use my same example. I'm going to declare a string variable that will hold the name of a food, okay? And I'm also going to declare another variable that will hold the name of a, let's see, course name. This is just random variables, okay? I also have another one named book name, and maybe another string variable that holds, what else? Weapon name. Okay, so what I just did was I just declared 4 variables of the string type, okay? And that's really easy. I mean, if I can do it, you guys can do it. So pretty much, we have 4 string variables, okay? And another way you can declare these things, you don't have to, you don't have to constantly write string this, string that. You can do it. You can write it as string, and you could declare your variables such as, you can say, trying to think of some other names, trying to be creative, brand name, and you could put a comma, right? And this indicates that you are declaring yet another variable. You can say something like manufacturer, comma, year model, car model, etc. And you guys get the point. And once you're done, you just have to put a semicolon, right? and you're done, right? Right now, what we're doing is we're just declaring variables. Like we're just basically opening, or we're not opening, we're creating boxes. Like we're folding up cardboard boxes to form like a container that later on which we can use. Like, think about it. If you have boxes, right, you don't necessarily have to put things inside a box, right? You can put it inside later on if you want. So this is exactly what we're doing. We're just, creating boxes, or in this case, we're creating variables, and Java allows us to reuse them, or we can use them later on if we never use them. Like you can create a variable and you can never use it inside your program. It wouldn't make sense to do that, but that's just the whole point of understanding what exactly variables serve as in Java and in general. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm actually going to show you guys what we can do with variables. Okay, so right over here, what I'm doing over here, this is all variable declaration, right? All we are doing is just declaring variables. I am basically declaring a variable named food name of the string type, right? I'm declaring a variable name called course name of the string type, book name, weapon name, brand name, etc. They're all part of the string type, okay? And let's say I wanna store stuff into these variables. I can go ahead and type in the name of the variable that I declared. In this case, if I want to store in the name of the food, I'll pick the right, string. Food name is equal to pizza, okay? And semicolon. And let's say course name. Let's say intro to CS, okay, abbreviated for comp sci. Let's say book name is equal to let's say the regular textbook, forgot what it's called, from control structures to data structures. Okay, and let's say weapon name sword. And let's go ahead and finish it up with brand name is equal to Apple. Manufacturer, we can just we can just do this whatever we want. We can do General Electric, even though that's not really. This is just all for fun. But you guys get the point. Year model 2017, car model equal, I don't know, type in some random model number or whatever. Okay, you guys get the point, right? So basically, I've just declared up top. Right, and I'm gonna write a comment, and I want you guys to get used to writing comments. Let's see, declaring string. I want you guys to get used to writing comments because let's say it just helps you out so much with understanding what you just did, right? You don't want to look at your code and forget what you just did and forget why you did that, right? So for in this case, I can just write over here, initializing this. That's what it's called, initializing your variables. You're initializing them to a value of whatever respective data type you're using. Initializing string variables with string literals. Okay, and a literal is basically a value that is respected to the data type. So for example, if I have a string variable, then what's contained inside the string variable will possibly be a string literal. And when I say possibly, what I mean by that is it can either be null or it can either be a string, right? Because whenever you have a string that is not initialized, well, if you have a string variable that's not initialized, then it's just there's nothing in there. You can't use it. However, if you have something that's called a field, which we will get into that later, they're automatically initialized to null. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about that now. Worry about that later. Okay. So this is basically the standard way of declaring string variables, right? And you can kind of guess that with any type of primitive data type, for example, integers, floats, doubles, you can declare variables of those types the same exact way, and we'll probably go over that in the next video.